Welcome back for more arms. You know something that took me way too long to remember to show off? Alternate skins. So if you click in the left thumbstick and hold a direction, and then press A to select, you get a different color. So up will be the default. I don't know why they bothered to program that. You get left, down, and right. And they're different palettes for every fighter, so it's not like a red, blue, green kind of situation like older Smash Bros. Games. So there's like a silver Mechanica, a pink, if you want to lean into the cuteness, or camo, if you want to lean into a more military kind of thing, because she basically is a tank, like a literal tank. I kind of like this purple and pink one, but... Oh, no, I missed the wrong one. I did say Twintel's basically a JoJo character, so... Kono Dio Da! You expected Twintel, but it was I, Dio! And you know what? Why not? Let's also go on 5. Live from the Cinema Dough, the grandeur, the thrill, the je ne sais quoi of the Arms Grand Prix is upon us. And who else will be here to share in this action-packed event but your buddy Biff? Believe your eyes, folks. It absolutely is the famous, the fabulous, the silver screen queen, Twintel. Not satisfied by accolades and awards her acting has received, she's taking on the world of arms. They say fortune favors the bold, and it doesn't get much bolder than that, does it, folks? Well, here we go. The Arms Grand Prix is starting. I suppose it is kind of a little unbelievable how pretty everyone is in this game, because they're getting punched right in the face. Lights, camera, action! It's Twintel versus the Scrapyard Scrapper, Mechanica. Mechanica built her fighting suit from junk she collected in her family's scrapyard. We'll soon find out if the silver spoon is mightier than the rusty wrench. Well, now I feel bad that I gotta beat her. But my headcanon is that the little HP bottles that show up to make the green healing circles is like some kind of advanced healing juice. So they can recover from their injuries really quickly. And, you know, I suppose that maybe doesn't cover, you know, if you get a tooth knocked out. But, you know, I like to headcanon that, you know, arms fighters aren't really risking their bodies here, just fighting, because they have this magic healing juice that the Arms Labs whipped up. So as I've mentioned while fighting against her, Twintel has the ability to slow incoming punches. I tend to think of it as her only having one ability, because it's the slow ability, but you can also do it in air. But technically, this ability also gives her 2 air dashes, so you can do it like that. So she is able to mix up her movement quite well. I remember when this game was coming out, people looked at characters like Twintel and Ninja. I was like, oh man, those are going to be the highest tier characters, because high tier characters are always the ones with all the movement options. These characters look at so many movement options. And then the tier ended up not really mattering that much anyway. Also, I think Ribbon Girl is kind of low on the tier, even though she also has movement options. Well, excuse me. Since Mechanica's going, is there air? Would you get out of my esophagus? I mean, I suppose I use air in my esophagus to talk. I think that's how that works. But don't be a burp. Be talking. Be words. Since she's going double revolver, I figure I should go double parasol, because that's kind of the parasol's gig. Is it's a medium weight arm that's defensive. It's got that wide hitbox, so it's good at knocking down multi-shot arms like the revolver. And it's also wind, so you get some pressure. You get to shove your opponent in a corner. I just now realized that that's a second purpose that wind has. I always thought of it as the get away from me option, you know, to keep your distance from an opponent. But yeah, I suppose I could be using this to shove her into a corner. Didn't want to try to break through my guard. That's fair, I suppose. That was kind of a... She really did not sound like she was having fun in that whirlwind. It made me kind of sad. Now, there's another character with a lot of shake-up options. The sequel! It's Twintail versus the Sucker Puncher, Lollipop. I don't know where that sweet aroma is coming from, but I like it. You don't know? You have a shop here. Uh-oh, Twintail has a nose for fragrances. Let's hope that this one doesn't go to her head. So yeah, here's Twintail's arms, explaining it on the second round. So basically, these are toasters, but they deal ice instead of fire. I think they probably deal the same amount of damage as Sparky's, but ice is a pretty good element. It's a good suppression element. The Parasol, like I just showed off, is a pretty good defensive option. And then the Thunderbird, which I'm still not really a fan of these birds, but you know what I can show you. Take a careful look at the hand part of the glove where the bird flies back to. It's a little nest. They got a little nest for the bird to fly home to. Whoa, we go. Come on. Ouch. Alright. Sure, I didn't mean to do that, but it happened. Can't take it back. Whoa! Just like getting grabbed by that grab. It's cool to also see that your fans will also be the same color you use for your palette. So since I'm green Twintail, they're also green Twintail fans. Which also makes it a little bit more... I don't know what the word for it would be, but, you know, a little less ridiculous when you're when it's a mirror match, you know, like two Min-Mins fighting each other. You know, it's not just a crowd full of Min-Mins watching Min-Min fight Min-Min. It's a crowd of one-colored Min-Min fans and a crowd of another color Min-Min fans. So there's, even though they're both Min-Min, and you could still be excited about Min-Min and not really care who wins, because either way, Min-Min wins. That you get the crowd split between one Min-Min or the other. It's like, man, why do I always gotta go to a us versus them mentality? Why can't we all just be on the same side? The human side. She's gonna clap back again, so I'm keeping the Thunderbird on. I definitely wonder if the Thunderbird is maybe... Like, I could totally see it as being an RC, you know, kind of like a toy drone kind of deal. Like an RC plane, except it's a bird. And then they just made an arm based on that. That's definitely my headcanon. This is the game that I have the most headcanon in. Like, I tend to not create a whole lot of headcanon, but this is just like, yeah, I'm creating headcanon. Because it's just such an interesting world. And so many interesting implications with certain things. Like how all the robot arms are made by the same brand. And I think that also includes Bite and Bark. So clearly they're a robot maker. And this RC bird totally has the application of being a toy that you control. I'd buy one. I think that'd be pretty cool. Even if I'm not that much of an RC plane kind of person. I would definitely enjoy the novelty of a remote control bird. Although, you know, I totally was that kid who would be like, you know, put that super expensive experimental crazy toy on his Christmas list, and then he'd play with it, and then by the end of January, just totally forget that I even have it. I've done that. I feel really bad about that, honestly. It's like I got those. There were these remote control cars that were designed to be able to run up the wall, and they kind of sucked, honestly. They weren't good at staying on the wall, and they weren't very fast. The Trilogy! Switching up and play some Skill Shot. So it was... You can't really blame me for getting bored with them quickly, because they kind of sucked. But, yeah, it's like, I feel bad, because it was probably expensive. I also feel bad about, like, all those expensive Lego sets I got growing up, and then just either never built or never kept together. Like the Lego Sandcrawler I've talked about before. Although Lego is a case where you can say, well, you know, you don't have to build how it looks on the box to get your money's worth out of it. That's not what Lego's about. You don't have to build what's on the box to have fun with it. Oop, totally missed because I'm not thinking about the fact that it's a curving arm. I like how he also has his straight punching, basically his equivalent of a glove type arm, and his bird on. What are you sitting on? There's no chair! She's floating, because apparently her actress aura not only allows her to slow incoming arms, but she also floats. Which again, is like, that's her second ability, is she can not only hold that actress aura mid-air, but she also technically has 2 air dashes. So Twin Tail versus the Man of Mystery Helix. This laboratory certainly has some giant TV monitors in it. Apparently they're showing research subjects, but I can't make heads or tails of them. It's just like that coin with no sides. I can't make heads or tails of that. Sorry about that, I had to take a quick break. What are we doing here? Let's do... Yeah, well, why not? Bad idea. Maybe it can't be that bad of an idea. It's like I said last time, I'm not sure that there actually are any arms that are bad to do in both hands. Like, I think some would say, oh, you don't want to use heavyweight arms in both hands. But you certainly can do that. You know, I certainly have had success being Master Mummy with megawatts or megatons in both hands. It's good for pressuring my opponent. Really getting in their face. So Twin Tail actually is a little bit of a fishy figure. I mean, she's definitely more of a role model than anything. Nothing bad. But according to lore, the Arms Lab officials have tried to figure out like how it's possible for her hair to be her arms. And she doesn't want to give them samples. She won't let them get samples. I think there's something that says like someone did try to sneak in and get a sample. I don't remember what the follow-up to that is. My inclination is like, and he was never seen again. But that doesn't sound like Twin Tail. I know there was one that said that they tried to I don't know if it was trying to discover her weaknesses, because I know they do have something for her weakness. It's like static, because, you know, paraphrasing. But then there's like different dialogue that says something about how Arms Lab officials approached her and then they all became extras in her next movie. So she's definitely not a bad person. I can confirm that much. But it is kind of suspicious that she doesn't want anyone inspecting her hair. Though I suppose she does have a right to refuse their requests for hair samples. You know, the Arms Lab is not owed any samples by any fighters. Come on. Ah, man, and just when I was thinking like, you know, I'm having actually kind of an easy time playing all these characters on level 5. Maybe that is my new standard now. Maybe I can play any character on up to level 5. I have beaten all fighters on level 5, or 4. Which I'm sure you've been able to see from my other fighters. You know, seeing their difficulty select screens. Hey, would you stop being a tall guy and just fight? Stop being a tower. Stop it. Get out of my healing circle. Stay out of my healing circle. Stay out of my personal space. This is my personal space. Stay out of my personal space.
Keep away from my personal space.
This reminds me of when I made a Rick and Morty reference in Ocarina of Time, and I was like, yeah, I feel the need to clarify, like, this is how I feel about the show. In case there's anyone who's like, you know, just, you know, going to one extreme or the other of like, you like that show, so I hate you, or you like that show, so now I automatically think you're really cool. Which are neither extreme you should actually be using for anyone just based off of one show. It's like, yeah, I can't really watch Rick and Morty anymore. It's kind of, I would say, devolved into something that's not really that funny anymore. And it's all just about like, hey, look at how awful all these people are. Isn't that awful? It's like it's trying too hard to be edgy. It's not clever anymore. It's like I really hate that episode that they had that was basically parodying like superhero movies, the Revengeancers or whatever it was called. It's like, yeah, that was a really lame episode and a waste of character designs. Pretty decent character designs. It's Twintel versus the Clockwork Cops fighting Mark. Does patrolling the sandy shores really give these beach buds time to train? Don't let their mechanical nature fool you. Their desire to win is second to none. I mean, they're robots. Do they even really need to train? Although now I'm remembering a part of pre-sequel, Borderlands, the pre-sequel, where you're building one of their signature robots that they use in the second game to fight against you with, and you actually do have to train it in the like target practice arena. But that's Borderlands logic. That's not ARMS logic. ARMS can operate on different logic. Ooh, got him with the bird. I didn't realize dogs were mortal enemies to birds. Ow. Well, don't jump into bombs. Parker, what are you doing? He's just over there shaking. Shaking dog. Come on, get over here. Ow. Punched me at point blank, which is how punches usually go, but not in this game, because it's ow. A very different concept than regular fighting. Stretchy arms and extendo fingers. Wow, what episode is this? And it took us that many episodes to get to that reference. But there's no extendo fingers here. The arms fighters can only stretch their arms. They don't get any other stretchy appendages. They do have hands, though. I don't know if I've shown that off. It's confirmed they do have hands. Just do whatever. I don't know. I like that the parasol opens up when you're jumping. I don't think it actually has an effect on you falling. It's not like Terraria or Kirby. But it does pleasantly remind me of both of those games, so I appreciate it. Oh man, how nice of him. He saved me from that bomb where it would have taken 200 damage, but instead I took 150. That was very kind of him. Yeah, I don't know if you got that there. I got him for 20 damage as he was falling from the whirlwind of a wind element. That's about as much combo as you can get going here. Excuse me, jeez. Yeah, and I know I have said before that I appreciate that comboing isn't really a thing in this game. But you kind of can. I mean, when they're in mid-air, if you can aim your arms, then yeah, you can still hit them, but it's not going to do as much damage. So it's not as viable of a strategy as it is in other games. I just remembered another character that Twintel has been compared to. Bayonetta! That's also a fair comparison, because Bayonetta does get her powers from her hair. And her ability to slow incoming projectiles kind of is like Witch Time. Match 6, don't lose focus. Let's win them, play some hoops! Who would have thought that someone would ever invent a game where you could throw a snake through a basketball hoop? Also, I don't know if I pointed this out or you may have noticed, but all the minigames take place on Buster Beach. It's just... I don't know if I would call it a cool detail, but it is nice that there is a definitive location for all of these, for the minigames. They're not just out in some void somewhere. Although, I say that, like, the training arena doesn't exist, and as far as I'm aware... Actually, no, I think that stage is also Buster Beach. I think it does kind of have some of the similar aesthetics to some of these minigame arenas. Oh, it's Masango! I was hoping this would happen because I'm Dio. So now I'm fighting Star Platinum. The credits are close. It's Twintail versus the spirited fighter Masango. Fighting in bare feet, it's fair to say that this guy isn't afraid to get his toes dirty. On the other hand, Twintail is the very embodiment of elegance and style. Which qualities will be more important in a fight? You're asking the wrong guy, folks. You're the one asking. Also, the sin is roll credits, not the credits are close. Hey, come on, you wanna come at me with your scullies. Waiting for him to do the first punch so I can counter, and then I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go for it. And then I miss, and he counters, like, oh, jeez. I'm good at this, guy. I'm good at this game, guys, I swear. I can talk, I swear. Can you believe English is my first and only language? Ah, you thought you could grab me, but not! And again, showing off that bit that Hoops teaches about being able to jump over grabs, which is something I don't think I've ever really tried until I utilized Hoops. Ah! Whiffed it. Did I say utilize Hoops? It's a thing I don't think I ever really knew about until I, really started to understand Hoops. Nope, you're not getting out of circle. No! Stay out of my personal space. Ow. Oh yeah, that's an option you can go from there too, is you don't have to go from one side to another with that dash. You could just drop straight down. Or apparently not. I thought it was trying to drop straight down. Okay, well, at least he's not hiding behind his mask pillar again. I had to do it. Though, personally, I'm more of an Aura kind of guy. I like Star Platinum more than I like Dio. I'm not one of those people who likes hateable characters, you know? Like, I like characters because I like them. I don't like them because they're hateable. And Dio is very much a villain that's set up to be, like, extremely so, very much set to be the guy you hate. Like, they really go out of their way to make him a hateable villain. And you know, when you're gonna go out of your way to make it your character hateable? Yeah, it's just, for me, it works. If a character is specifically set up to make you want to hate them, then I don't see any redeeming qualities in them, and I just don't want to see them. Oh, that's Lollipop. No, it was Rivendell. Just trying to go based off of like the location map, and it looked like it was by the pier, like the other one, like Lola's stage looks like. Everyone loves Ribbon Ring's rising platforms that pop up on stage. When you fight on top of them, even the fans in the cheap seats can see. I think even the fans that are close up to the stage can't see what's going on just because of the design of the ring. Sorry, are my headphones clunking around? It sounds like they're shaking around a little bit, making noise on my head. Hopefully that's not annoying. Be sure to reposition them when I get a chance. Whoa. Yeah, you didn't see that bomb coming, did you? Yeah, another thing that people thought was going to be really important when, before ARMS came out was high ground. Because they looked at the stage Ninja College, Ninjara's stage, and thought, oh, well, that stage is going to be unfair because one player starts at the top and one player starts at the bottom, so clearly whoever starts at the top is going to have the advantage. But that's not necessarily the case, which I think is pretty cool, because the Mythbusters proved that that's true in reality. The high ground does not mean it's over. Yes, that is supposed to be a Star Wars reference, because that's what they were testing. They were specifically testing that scene where Obi-Wan's like, "It's over, Anakin, I have the high ground!" And, if you didn't see that episode, then they found that it's actually kind of worse to have the high ground, because your opponent can just chop at your ankles. I think they did even mimic the terrain as you see it in that scene in Star Wars. And it was like, yeah, this just lets my opponent chop at my ankles. This is not good. Actually, now that I'm thinking back on it, I think they actually found that it's only slightly advantageous to be up on the high ground, or slightly disadvantageous. It's only slightly worse. Like they otherwise had a pretty even performance. Once whoever was on the high ground got used to their opponent chopping at their ankles. Got you now. That's another Star Wars quote, isn't it? I feel like Darth Vader says that when he's in his TIE Fighter. In the trench scene in episode 4. Maybe? No? I don't know. I'm not very good at quoting things, so I wouldn't know. Which is weird, because my associative memory is also, like, weirdly good. So I don't know how I'm not good with quotes. Like, clearly I can remember things based on context. You'd think I would be able to remember a series of words based on, things I remember coming after those words. Come on. Yes, got her. Alright. Now if I'm careful, I can get a timeout. Victory. That's not careful. No! Excuse me again. Get up, 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 get up. Ah. Also, I never did point out the healing circles. I did mention that they're basically juice that just sprays around out of the bottle, and that's what creates the healing circle. But if you notice, the bottle that the healing stuff comes out of, it's you can basically see how much time is left on that circle by looking at that bottle, because the liquids inside will actually start to slowly reduce. It runs out of fluids. I was trying to make that more clear, and then I think I just ended up making that sound gross. Definitely doesn't help that I did last night. I was playing Conker's Bad Fur Day, and I played the part with the furnace. And if you know that part, you know why. You know why thinking of fluids would be kind of gross right now. I'm not going to explain any further than that for anyone who hasn't seen that scene, that level, I guess you can call it. Nope, no. Wow, I've still got this. I'm doing good on health. So as long as I can keep it this way, play evasively. I did forget to read what Twin Tails playstyle was before starting. I feel like she is along the lines of Mechanica, where you can either pressure or, you know, keep your distance and be a more evasive fighter. Maybe something more close to Ribbon Girl as well, since they're both evasive, and they both have mix-up options. And neither of them have super armor, so they don't have the ability to just tank hits. So maybe they are both more... They're definitely not pressure, you know, direct in-your-face pressure bully characters, as they call them. Man, water bottle, why'd you gotta whistle? One act away. Twin Tail versus the Ramen Bomber, Min Min. In this town full of ramen shops, her family's is the biggest and baddest on the block. The quest for premium ramen eaten and arms washed and has fans packed onto the roof. Did I read that right? I guess I'm gonna go Parasol. Try to pressure her with Parasols. Although she's got the megawatts on, so hers outclass mine, and with both of ours having pretty big hitboxes. Maybe not a good choice for me. Maybe I should have gone Phoenixes or Thunderbirds. You know, it does kind of bother me that, you know, you have Phoenix as the name for your elemental bird. That's your fire bird. But for Thunderbird, like for your electric bird, it is just Thunderbird. There's no word for it. Actually, I don't know. Maybe whatever mythology Phoenix comes from, maybe they do have a word for like a Thunderbird or like a water bird. You know, think it back to Pokemon, Zapdos, Moltres, Articuno. Waiting for the generation where they introduce, you know, because it is, their names are based on 1, 2, 3, and 4 in Spanish. So when are we gonna get? When are we gonna get 4 and 5, maybe 6? You know, just do all the elements. Keep going up in numbers. Fire to Quattro or something like that. Quattrastilo. I don't know. I'm not a Pokemon namer. I'm also not someone who's particularly picky about like Pokemon designs. Like I know people are always like, man, the Pokemon designs are always lame. Here's an object with a face. I can't believe they were so lazy. Well, you know, I think there definitely are categories of Pokemon designs, and then people kind of pick and choose which ones are the acceptable ones by their own metrics. Because, you know, how can you say Trubbish is a bad Pokemon design, but then be okay with Voltorb and Electrode? It's like, you want to talk Pokemon getting lazy? No, it's always been lazy. Except I don't feel that way. Like, it's okay that some designs are objects with faces on them. Electrode and Voltorb and Electrode. How did I forget them? I was just talking about them. Are both perfectly acceptable Pokemon designs in my mind, as well as Trubbish. I actually like Trubbish. I like Trubbish more than Voltorb and Electrode. So you know, there's that objects with a face kind of category of Pokemon, which again I think that's perfectly acceptable, because that's basically just a yokai. And if you don't accept yokai as monsters, then, well, I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna follow that up. I guess it's okay if you don't like Pokemon based on yokai, but then you also have to dismiss any other Pokemon based on yokai, like Frolas. Is that one? You know, the one that's basically the Yukiona. I'm sure there's probably a Pokemon or two based on like an Oni. Something like that. So yeah, you got your objects with faces category Pokemon, but then you also have like it's an animal but not really kind of category. You know, like your Pidgey, your Pachirisu. And then there is like mythical creatures like unicorns and goblins and dragons. Like, if you're not allowed to pull from any one of these categories, then I don't know, I feel like you are kind of unfairly limiting yourself in what kind of creatures you can create. Dom's Grand Prix Grand Finale is here at last! Listen to that crowd, the fans are right up! It's Twin Tail versus the Commish, Max Brass. The statues of him towering over the ring are a testament to his monumental armed status. Can Twintel reach yet another pinnacle in her illustrious career? It's the grand finale. Let's go! I mean, I suppose Digimon is probably something that gets away with creating unique and interesting creatures without specifically pulling from objects with faces or, you know, obvious mythical creatures. Although I know like Angemon exists, so it's not like they don't do that. But you know, I don't think it's lazy design for Pokemon to go there. Because if you're not allowed to do something based on something that already exists, that makes a lot of things unable to exist, you know? Like look at Mario enemies. Like, oh, you got a Piranha Plant. That's basically just a Venus flytrap. If you're not allowed to base things on Venus flytraps, you know, you can't base it on something that already exists, like an animal or a plant. No, you can't have Piranha Plants. You can't have Koopas, because, oh, that's just a turtle. It is kind of weird to see. You know, I think some Pokemon fans definitely do have double standards when it comes to one thing or another that they choose to complain about. And Pokemon designs is definitely one thing. You know, it always seems like people are like, man, Pokemon was downhill since whatever game I grew up with. You know, insert game here. You know, the notorious Gen 1ers. And then, like, every generation definitely has Pokemon fan like that, where it's like, man, games haven't been good since this game. Like, look at the Pokemon designs. It's just an object with a face. It's just an animal, but they spelled its name funny. It's like, if you don't like Flamigo, then you're not allowed to like Seal either. Or whatever its evolution was called, which I only recently found out is also a form of actual animal that's like almost as verbatim the actual animal as Seal is. I think Pokemon has definitely been a good series, and I don't think there's any one point where it's particularly bad. Like, I can definitely see people having preferences for one game over another because of some things it did, or, you know, not liking a game because of things it didn't do. I tend to not want... I don't like judging things based on what they don't do, but, you know, sometimes in some cases it is fair. Sorry, I need some water because of all this talking I'm doing. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Clearing your throat apparently is not something you're supposed to do. It's bad for your throat. Gotta be his other value take down the Max Pass. I can skip this. Because the unique dialogue isn't till after this splash screen. What a turn of events. Victor was all but assured, but now there's a party crasher to deal with. No idea what's going on here, but I'm on the edge of my seat. Good luck, Twintel. Brush off this bozo and grab the ultimate crown. It's a belt, Biff, not a crown. And actually, it is this generation of Pokemon that made me realize, yeah, Pokemon kind of is a game where there's always something to appreciate about each game. Like, I definitely feel like there was a point where Pokemon did become stale and kind of didn't try to innovate with each new game. But I would say that's more early into the series, like maybe the first 4 or so generations. But that's also me speaking as someone who does not know what makes each generation different. So it's hard for me to effectively assess what each how new each generation was from the one that came before it. But I would definitely say, at the very least, very earliest of Pokemon starting to try to innovate with each game is Black and White. Ow. Aw, man, he took the 160 and I took the 200. Well, that's just karma, isn't it? Because, yeah, Black and White was the first generation, which I didn't know until Choco Conroy did a Let's Play of it. First Pokemon generation since the first one to be entirely new Pokemon until you get your National Dex. Which is a totally novel idea. And then, X and Y introduces character customization. And Sun and Moon completely rethinks the idea of a gym. And You know, even if you thought Sword and Shield was bad, you know, at least they were trying to innovate with the wild area, and still refining the idea of a Pokemon gym, and keeping that idea of it not just being some place where you're forced to fight like 5 trainers in a row, and then you fight the ultimate final trainer. And again, that's me not really knowing each generation and what makes each generation different. Who knows? Maybe it was like Generation 3 that introduced the concept of Pokemon being able to follow you outside their Pokeball. You know, the buddy system or whatever it was called then. And of course, competitive stuff that they probably introduced along the way. And, you know, mechanical stuff like the Poketch or whatever it was called. Like in, was it Ruby and Sapphire? Because I'm thinking like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, that kind of deal. And Diamond and Pearl, which the recent remakes. This is Green Twintel from the red carpet to Arms Royalty. Congratulations. Another I'm going to try to apply. Thank you, competitors and fans at home. So yeah, I definitely have come to realize that Pokemon is a series that tries. I will say that much. Even if I don't think it's so successful, it tries. I think people should give it credit for that. Maybe not, it doesn't try as hard as like Mario or Zelda, but I think I can appreciate that, because not every series needs to be a completely fresh experience between each game. And life continued as normal for Twintel. She starred in yet another movie, which I'm sure was a box office success. High reviews from critics. ARMS really does have such a feel-good setting, because everyone is successful, you know? There's no losers in ARMS. Everyone is doing well, and doing cool things, and having a good time. That's when you have gone to be able to do this episode. Bye.